Hello one and welcome to a new reading vlog. Today I am starting my next reading Booktubers favorite books, which is always fun because I find new interesting books that I maybe have wanted to read for a long time, or I was going to say forgot existed, or I never heard about, which is always fun. We love to see it. We love to do it. Today's challenge is the following: that I am reading Olivia's favorite books. And the challenge is that the channel name that Olivia has is Olivia's Catastrophe. And I cannot say this word. Like, every time I need to say it, I just can't say it. So I'm gonna use the whole video pronouncing this wrong. Which is just like, I can't say Catastrophe. Like, honestly, there was just something happening in my brain one day, and then I just could not pronounce this correctly. Catastrophe? Catastrophe? It's terrible. And I realized this before I was making this video, and I was like, I need to practice. And it's not working. Catastrophe. It's not catastrophe, it's catastrophe. Catastrophe? But I'm reading Olivia's favorite books. That's the most important part. And I asked Olivia, can you send me a list of 5 books that I can read for this vlog? And she was, of course. Because she's the nicest. And obviously you should go and check out her channel. And then I got a little list. And as always, I always read a few books on the list that people send me, almost as always, so that I can mention in the beginning. Because I read so much, and then I always mention them in the beginning to like get a feel of like that person's taste and be like, this is actually the person's favorite books, but then I have to go further down on their list because I'm stupid. I read them. It says Raven Boys is favorite series of all time. I actually just finished Raven Boys like last month. So I have the series here, and I'm not gonna unhaul them, but I don't personally think that this series is something that I loved because it's a lot about atmosphere than plot. Even the atmosphere, I was kind of bored, especially by the end. And I actually read 1 and 2 twice because I was rereading with my friend. The light is crazy. We came to the end and I was like, this was it. So I don't love Maggie Stiefvater personally. Like, I read other books by her and I haven't really enjoyed them. I can definitely see why people love the series. It has a nice atmosphere, but I need more than vibes to love a book. I'm not saying that these are bad, I'm just saying that it's not for me. So we should see like what we're gonna vibe with of the books that I'm actually gonna read. My very thoughts about Raven Boys. Olivia did this amazing thing where she like explained that like every book on the list was a favorite something, and I thought that was really sweet. Because like obviously you can have faves in different kind of, not necessarily genres, but different kind of places. So Raven Boys was the favorite series. And then there was something on second place, which I'm actually going to read, so I'm going to keep it a secret. And then we had Fave Afrofuturism, which was the 5th season by Anka Jemisin, which obviously I read twice. I absolutely love it. This is an absolute incredible fantasy book. And is one of my favorites as well. So, granted that we know taste is here. Just the way that this is written is one of the most original ways I have read a fantasy. The world building is astonishing. The characters are astonishing. It's amazing. Incredible. Would 100% recommend. Kind of want to reread again. I read this twice, but I haven't read the rest of the series again. So like, do I reread this again before continuing the series again? But I'm not going to reread for this video, but absolutely incredible if you haven't read it. We have Hamlet, which was one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. And actually I was a bit nervous when I asked Olivia for this video because I know that she reads a lot of like classics, as I've seen, compared to me at least. I don't read a lot. So I was like, what if she just gives me a list of classics? I was a bit scared because I don't tend to like them as much. But I would have read them. But yeah, that would have been a challenge. She didn't tell us, but still. And Hamlet, I actually read from before. If I hadn't read Hamlet, would I have read Hamlet now? I don't know. But we read Hamlet in school. And then I mean, like, we actually, like, we read it properly in a way that we didn't just read a few passages. We read the whole thing. We wrote, like, a whole book of analysis stuff. We watched an adaptation with David Tennant. Incredible. I love him. But I don't like Shakespeare. I don't like reading Shakespeare. I don't understand anything. I do understand the effect that he has had on literature, theater. And I think it's cool. I would watch a play. I would watch an adaptation maybe. But reading it gives me a headache. So I don't know. Can I say that I like this? I guess the story is kind of dramatic and fun, especially when David Tennant goes through it. But reading it was not fun. But we did analyze a lot of the things, and now the people like reference Hamlet in like different, because it's being referenced everywhere, to be or not to be, and etc. etc. It's fun to know more of the origins than just like know it's Shakespeare. So in that regard, I can appreciate the education I got when I read it. But I wouldn't read Shakespeare in my free time. And then fave novel in verse was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I personally love Elizabeth's books. Like, all of them are incredible. She wrote first in verse, Poet X, and then this one. And then obviously she has other in prose. And I think that all of her books are breathtaking and incredible. And she wrote about so many things that goes close to your heart, and just in a way that is so immersive and incredible. So obviously I had already read it, and this was also just, I'm getting goosebumps. I was gonna say heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. Absolutely incredible. I really, really loved it, and on the list is a good sign. And then we had to come with other suggestions, because obviously I had already read all of these before. So I was suggested Who Fears Death, which was another Afrofuturism. And this is by Nadia of Grove 4. This book, I don't know if I can describe it anymore. I would definitely like to reread it, but I really, really did enjoy it. Just the voice here is very distinct, very incredible, honestly. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. And again, I would love to reread it. It's a very, very solid book. Really, really enjoyed it. But I don't think for the life of me I could describe this. Not that I described any of the other ones. So I feel like I'm in for a reread, honestly, but it was very good. And Olivia said she was determined to take Afrofuturism on this list, which obviously I love to see, because I will always need more Rex. One of the others that I also had read was Right Baby by Tojo Onyebuchi, which I also did like, but not as much as the other books I read by the author. And I feel like this went a bit over my head, not because it was bad, but because I think it was just very much smarter than me. But I still enjoyed it, could reread it because it's so short, and maybe get more out of it like the next time I read it, but still like a solid one. And that like concluded all the ones that I had already read for the suggestions. And then obviously through all this, we actually found books that I'm actually going to read. So judging from the books, I feel like if we are on like this side here, I really, really enjoy them. And then we have like Rainbow books, which like I get people enjoy, but it's not for me. And then we have Hamlet, which is like not for me. So there's like a level, but like overall, there's more books I really enjoyed than like I felt okay about. So we're looking good. We are looking good. And I am starting this vlog today, which is obviously why I'm here. Like, I'm starting the book for this vlog, the first one. Which again, is just like so out of anything I would read. Because I'm starting out with Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Laurie Gottlieb. And this one is a non-fiction memoir from a therapist. Hello? I don't know how to say words. And I think that she writes about her personal life, but also like the life of her patients. And people really love it. Like, I looked it up yesterday, and people really love it. And I was like, oh. And I feel like maybe I see the cover, but I, like, in my head, I haven't like heard anything about it. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, just some here and there. It says it is self-help, and I don't like self-help books because they always like love yourself and be better. I feel like it's like a mix of I get the message, but then I get annoyed that someone is like jamming it into me, but maybe it's not like that. So I'm like a bit like, will this be for me? I hope it will like turn out to be incredible, obviously. But I feel like I usually don't feel like that about these kinds of books, but I haven't read a lot of them, so maybe this will be, you know, different. So I'm starting out today, and I actually been really, really, really good. You should be actually very proud, because usually when I do these videos, I buy all of them. and I haven't bought a single one. I bought them all at my library, either digitally, and there was one I had to order from like an outside library, but still I didn't pay anything. And obviously I will buy if one of them like absolutely shatters me, like I had that in the last episode of this. Yeah, but I'm proud of myself for to resist the urge of buying because I usually like to buy all the books for my vlogs because it's fun. But then I just end up with books that I was like, why do I have this? So you should be proud. Okay, so I'm gonna go and start this today at that point. I need to actually go to work now, but later, and I will let you know how it went. Excited, curious, a bit apprehensive. That's what we like to see. Let's go. Hello. I did yesterday finish Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, and it is kind of what it said it was. It is about our main character, which is not a character. It is about the therapist going to therapy after her boyfriend breaks up with her. And we also have continuous, I think, at least 4 different patients that she's seeing, and how she is helping them through therapy. And it's a lot about like when they say something in therapy and when she does and says things in her therapy, she reflects upon like what it means and how to respond, etc. And in that regard, it was really interesting to hear these reflections because obviously everyone acts in different ways and are in different ways. And it's just interesting to see, I wouldn't exactly call it an analysis, but I mean, it is a bit of an analysis as well. And it's just interesting to see how in therapy how thought patterns are thought of. You definitely start caring a lot for the characters that Lori is seeing. And there's definitely many different sides to them, and it warms your heart a lot to read about them. There's just one person there that is famous, and I was very curious for who that was. So I tried to Google to see if people figured it out, but it seemed to still be like a lot of people thought many different things, but there's no one knows for sure. But it seems like it'd been a mix of like many different patients in one, so people wouldn't be able to find out who that is since it is a famous person. I just thought it was very interesting. It was some patients I was really, really like heartbreaking to follow, honestly. And it's basically about like a lot of good sides of therapy for the patients that our main character is seeing, but also for when she's seeing this therapist, that helps her a lot and reflects upon herself a lot, because it's very interesting as well to think that therapists have everything figured out because they therapy others, but she didn't. And I just thought that was funny in a way because everyone is messy, everyone is human, and just human thought and reflection throughout this book in general just makes you think and reflect. And it was nice. I understand why it has done so well. It was very well written. You really did care for, I don't even know if you can call it an outcome, but you cared for the events of the book. And I liked it. I didn't love it, and I don't think it is a 5-star read for me, but I liked it a lot. I think I go with like 3.5, rounding up to 4, maybe just a clean 4. I guess I would decide by the end of this video. But it was an interesting non-fiction book that also felt like a fiction book, but at the same time it's not. But it's just so many stuff inside us as humans, and sometimes having it written down can help you reflect a lot in general, and I think that this book does that. Yay. So not 100% sure what I'm reading next for this, but it is going to be very soon. But I will let you obviously know when I started. So you can see me then. So far, so good. Hello, I'm about to start the next book that Olivia recommended to me, and that is Ariel, the Restored Edition by Sylvia Plath. Or, I mean, Olivia didn't specifically recommend me the Restored Edition, but that's the one that was available at the library. So we are going with that one, which was Olivia's favorite poetry collection. I don't read a lot of poetry in general. I think I read 3 collections, and then obviously when I was like an English major for a year, I read loads then, and then like in school and stuff. I don't know if that counts. Not that I don't like poetry, I just don't know sometimes what to read and find. So I'm gonna read it. I obviously know about Sylvia Plath, but I don't remember what. I think obviously I read some poems by her in school, etc., but not anything I can remember right now specifically. So I'm going to read this whole collection, the Restored Edition, as I said. I just read a foreword by her daughter, which is like talking about how this is a different edition, blah, 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 blah. I guess I'm going to read these poems. I usually find it hard to read poems because I feel like you need to analyze their meanings more instead of just like reading them and I'm like, okay, I read it now, kind of. But I am just going to read them through because I feel like that is also a way to read poetry, to read through and still feel emotional impact. Like, you don't always need to stop and analyze it just because it's poetry, but digest it and get stuff from it still. And then obviously I think poetry is the kind of thing you can go, as guys and say, easy to go back and find the parts that you like the most, that resonated with you. I'm just gonna read this little collection and then you will see it soon. Trying to sit in a comfortable position so I can talk to you guys, and I'm struggling. I did finish the Ariel collection thing, and I I don't understand poetry. I think it's me problem. And I'm not saying that the poetry is beautiful, I just don't always understand it. And I just don't have it in me to like analyze it. I thought that some of it, of course, sounded nice and was nice, and I was like, oh. But then, like, since the poem, I kind of forget about it afterwards in a way. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that it's not for me. But I still obviously want to try and read different things and read different stuff in the world, because there's so many things out there that I have not read or seen, obviously, because that is the world. There's too many stuff in here. So it was enjoyable, like, parts of it. But also I find myself easily drifting because I feel like I don't comprehend everything, you know? Also, I was, a parts of it, I was like, I know it's written a while ago, but some of the words in there was like, isn't this a bit racist? Isn't it this a bit ableist? But I know, like, people are going to say, well, it was the time it was written in. I guess, yeah, and you shouldn't edit stuff out that was written in our way, but that doesn't mean I need to like it now, you know? But I just sit in there afterwards like, nice. Now I'm done with that. And I feel like some poetry speaks to you, but this, I'm like, And I feel like I try to go back and read some over again, just to like get them in more, and I was just like, So I feel like it didn't hit maybe as a lot of people would have felt like it hit them. And now I'm sitting here like, okay, it was fine, you know? So, yeah, I read it. I don't know what I would rate it, even if it is possible to give it a rating. It's hard, I think, to give it a rating. Now I'm looking at children running on a hill outside my house. What are they doing? But either way, I read it nice. So the next thing I am reading for this is The Black God Drums by P. Jelly Clark. I'm starting this today, and I realized it's like 112 pages, so I feel like I will finish it today as well. Olivia was very insistent to have one Afrofuturism on this list that she gave me, and obviously I'm all for it. I thought it was really fun to have a one. And I read, obviously, P. Jelly Clark. I read the Ring Shout. Is that what that other one is called? I don't have that physically, so I keep forgetting I read it. I should get it, actually. Which was really good, and then obviously A Master of Jinn, which was really good, so I have no hesitation that this will also be good. And I've been wanting to read everything by P. Jelly Clark anyway, so let's see what this one has, and I will let you know very soon. The Black Goddess Drums were super fun. It was very short, as I said. It was like literally 106 pages. And it followed Creeper from New Orleans. I think like very late 18 something. Does it say? No. I think it said like she was born 13 years ago in 1872, but I might be correct. And she just lives on the streets there and tries to oppress this captain. And she also have, the African Orisha of Wind and Storms living inside her head, or parts of her at least. So that's also really cool. And then they're trying to go after this dude who was kidnapped to find the Black Goddess Drums. And it's just a cute, fun story that mixes historical elements as well as these sci-fi elements, as well as like these godly power thing elements all together. And I think it was done very well. I thought it was a really fun story. Obviously very fast, short, but like with what you got, I don't know what else like you could have added to make it better. I thought it was done really well and it was very fun as it was. But I already knew that Peter Clark is a super talented writer, so I'm not like surprised by this. And honestly, would recommend a lot. Like, oh, it was super easy read because it was so short and incredible fun. So yeah, it's on Kindle Limited. That's where I read it. So you could easily get access to it. And I would very much recommend. I feel like I don't know what more to say, but I like the balance of like the characters. I liked a bit exciting plots. The Orisha part of like Orisha living inside of her was like the part that I found the most interesting. And I would have more. I would have more in this world and these characters if I could. But it seems to be a standalone and it was released in 2018. So I guess it's not coming more. But it was good. It was good for what it was and I enjoyed it. So I think I give that like a 4. And as I said earlier, I don't know what to rate Ariel because I don't know what to rate that kind of story. So now we still have 2 more books for this vlog. I'm thinking I'll start the next one tomorrow. I just don't know where I put it. I'll show you later then. I will just start it because it's like on the other side of the room somewhere. I have now started the next book for this vlog, which is Sing If You Can't Dance by Alexia Casale. This one I bought from a library, so it's not mine. And I am already actually 78 pages in because I started it when I was commuting. And so far I enjoy the story itself a lot. It was Van that discovers she has a medical condition. She has like disjointed limbs basically that keeps happening to her and other like things. She keeps fainting, etc. And she wanted to be a professional dancer, so that doesn't really work when her limbs keeps going out of the joint and other stuff, that's medical stuff that I don't completely understand. So she feels like her life is over. She's a very sassy and snarky and intense, angry character with a lot of personality. And then we also have this dude that starts out of school that she seems to have a thing with. He also has like a very prominent scar on his face. So they both have the different things that they struggle with that people can see on their outsides as well. And now it says here, but because if you can't dance, you can always sing. So they're doing this like school project thing where they're gonna like kind of compose a song thing. So it seems like it's gonna be a lot of focus on that, and maybe she will find some joy again in that after having her life completely altered. And I do enjoy that storyline. It's a very like easy read book with like this, you know, snarky voice that is fun and interesting to read. I found her as again like I like her voice and her story. I just feeling a bit like turned off by it because it has already, and I'm only on like 78 pages in, a lot of Harry Potter references. I know a lot of people don't care about this, but I do, and I feel like it's a really huge turn off in the book published in 2023. Like, I don't think any book in the whole world needs Harry Potter references. Like, they don't need them at all. Like, why are they in there? And I just like, I know like Harry Potter is such a universal thing. Everyone knows what it is. Does it matter if the references are in there or not? For me, it does. It is like a huge turn off. It's a bit cringe for me. If I'd written in 2015, fine. But for me, it's just like, it makes me like, why? Why was this put in here? I don't get it. So it's not funny at all, actually. And it's just, honestly, if it was like once, I could ignore it, but it's already been like several. And I'm like, we don't need them. So like, granted, it's not something that maybe should affect so much my, like, if the book is bad or good, but it affects my enjoyment, and enjoyment is a huge part of what you think about when you read a book. Like, your enjoyment should be, and a lot of times be, in center for when you're gonna like rate and review a book, because it is how much did you enjoy it, even though in theory it could be a good book or a bad book, but did you enjoy it? Because I can enjoy bad books a lot and rate them highly because of it. Because of that, my enjoyment goes down. I'm like just like waiting for more references, and I don't feel like that is the point of the book, but because it already was so many of them, like, yeah. So that is what I feel so far. I do, as I said, enjoy the overall story. I find it very like going into my heart for this character story, but again, some turn-offs. So yeah, I will let you know what happens next soon. Okay, so last night I did finish Sing If You Can't Dance. I feel like this took me ages to read, but I was just so tired yesterday. I don't know. It was going slowly. And I think it also had something to do with the book because I kept like getting really into it and then I lost interest, and I got really into it and I lost interest. It was very much ups and downs because I did, as again, find our main character very, very interesting to follow. I really liked her personality. I really enjoyed her friendship. I really enjoyed how she opened herself up to more friendship and like the development there. I just realized I don't care about like high school competitions as much anymore, in a way that like she was doing all this work for a grade in school and I was just like, chill down, girl. It's not that serious. But that is just me because like I'm at the point where like I know that obviously stuff like that can matter to a lot of people and like it is important. But for me, I was just like, it made me not care about the plot of the story, while I don't think actually the plot of the story was the important part of the story. It was what our character did with this task because of the changes in her life. I do get that, but it still just made the story itself a bit like, can we get on with it now? So I feel like that is too bad. And like I highly, really, and truly enjoyed some parts of it, but other parts, as I said, it was boring. And I don't know what I felt about it all. I don't know what to rate it because like again, I felt like some parts were so strong, and then other parts I had no interest in at all. So I just feeling very like, I literally think that some parts of this was 5 stars, and some parts of this was like 2 stars, 3 stars. So I don't know. I don't know what to rate it. But it's sad in the end, actually, because I said that like she had like the popping out of the joints and then all the pains and other stuff are happening to her. And she also wrote all the way in the end because like we never got like a diagnosis, but it says here in the end like, P.S. I know you've been waiting all this time to find out what's wrong with me, and I know you've been impatiently grinding your teeth and then don't reveal and refuse to tell you, but here's the thing, you didn't know me before. She doesn't want to tell us, and I didn't even think about that she hadn't given us like a specific condition diagnosis. I didn't really like, I wasn't sitting there waiting for any kind of reveal for it, but maybe other people would wait for it, but I wasn't even like thinking about it. I just assumed that they knew, but they didn't want to name it or something. I don't know. I didn't think that like a name for whatever was happening to her was needed. But I still think that obviously that last like PS is something that maybe a lot of people would be very like, I want to know this. But I never thought about it. I didn't need a specific name for anything, but that's just me. It's really interesting to see how she came to terms with a lot of changes that was happening and how she opened herself to help, to love, to friendship. And I thought those parts were really, really interesting. The plot was like, eh. So, like 3.5 maybe, like a mid thing. But I don't know if I've rounded down to 3 or up to 4. Because I honestly think that some parts deserves a high thing and some a lower thing. So now I'm like in between. And I feel like that happens a lot sometimes where there's a book you really enjoy, but other parts that really bug you, so you feel like you cannot rate it highly. I don't know. And especially if I go after enjoyment, like what do I even go after? I don't know. I finished it and it was enjoyable, but I still felt like meh a lot of parts. So I am going to read the last book for this vlog, which I feel like went very, very quickly. And I'm reading The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first book, as I assume a lot of people know, in the Devil Bodge trilogy. I actually read this before, but it's been many years now. And I kind of didn't like it when I read it at the time. So I wanted to give it another chance because everyone says it is amazing. And I can't really remember, as I said, anything. And I also want to actually read the rest of the trilogy. So I thought, why not actually just reread it? But I also heard the second book is better than the first. It's a world of jinn and tricksters. And we're set in Cairo. And I will try to explain it a bit more later. I guess I need to get started if I'm gonna finish this today. So see you soon. Hello. So last night I did finish City of Brass. And I must say I enjoyed this much more this time around since I read it the first time 4 years ago. I don't know why. I think 4 years ago it put me in a reading slump. I was not in the mood to read, but I forced myself like through this, but it took me ages. So then I got annoyed at the book. But also I remember I just felt like it was like super typical and I was just like, why is this fun? And this time I'm like, oh my god, I enjoy all these aspects so much. So I had a much better time in it. we follow Nari, is that her name? Yes. And then she has these special healing powers and special abilities. And then she accidentally summons a Deva. And they are now connected and needs to go to the city of Devas or Jinns, depending which side you're on, to like learn more about her heritage and her powers, etc. And we also follow Ali, who is the prince in the city, the Devabad city, or I guess that's the city of brass. And he has different like turbulent political stuff happening there, and different factions is against each other for long history. And I kind of really enjoyed how it all came together. I really enjoyed our main characters. Last time I just didn't like anyone, and I don't know why. But I remember I gave it like a 3, and then upon like when people asked me if I enjoyed it, I was like, I don't really enjoy it that much. Now I think it's like a 4. I don't know if it's like the highest 4, but it's a decent 4. And now I'm excited to continue because again I heard that the second book is much better, and I'm glad I took this opportunity for this vlog to reread this because again it went upwards. So it was definitely worth it. I'm happy I gave it another chance. I always wanted to continue, and then I was unsure if I just should continue without rereading, but I reread and I don't have any regrets. So that means that I finished all the books for this vlog. I feel like it was a bit of a turbulent one. Not that Olivia doesn't have good taste, but I feel like to see the favorites that our tastes differ a lot, which is what I thought initially, which is so fun to discover. I feel like I had a really great time because I read books that I normally wouldn't have read at all. So that is one of the most fun parts of these videos, and to see if I enjoy them. So I guess I need to rank them now. I don't feel like I read a book I hated. Like nothing was like 1 or 2 stars, which is great. But I don't feel like I read a book I loved either. You know what I mean? Like they all felt not super high. So then I feel like it's more difficult to rank them, because if one I loved, that would obviously be first place. And if it was one I hated, I would be last place. But now I feel like, how do I even rank them? I don't know. Which again makes me reflect and think, and that is what I want from these videos, so that is also interesting. I guess I will put on last place, 5th place, Ariel by Sylvia Plath. Because while it is probably a beautiful collection, while this poetry collection probably meets a lot of people, I personally didn't feel much for it. And again, maybe I'm reading poetry wrong, but since like it is the one I felt the least enjoyable for me, it makes sense for me to put it on last place here. I'm not saying it's a bad poetry collection, I wouldn't know, but for the enjoyment himself, for me in this video, it fits on the last place, I am sorry to say. I guess that on 4th place, we have Sing If You Can't Dance, because while there's so many parts of this I thoroughly really enjoyed, it was so turbulent of how I really cared and didn't care, and like the balance of what I liked and didn't like made it like a confusing book if I really enjoyed it or not. I usually maybe need some time to like, oh, did I really truly like it or not, to like get an impression further away. But since I need to post this vlog tomorrow, that's not going to work out. But like, I'm not saying again that this book is bad. I just felt like there were aspects in the story that I personally didn't enjoy. So that is therefore we have it on 4th here. And now I can return it to the library. And then on 3rd, I will put Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, because I feel like while I was reading this one, I like didn't like it as much. But now I've reflected more upon it, I thought it was a really nice story actually. It's a lot about like inner self-awareness, and it was like kind of funny and interesting, and my enjoyment reading that was higher than the other 2. So that's why I deserve 3rd place. But I don't think I loved it as much as a lot of other people did, but I still thoroughly enjoyed lots of parts of it. Ooh, then we have the last 2. I guess on the second, I will put City of Brass, which, again, I enjoy so much more now this time. I'm very now excited to read the 2nd and 3rd, which I hopefully will do this summer. But I put a lot of books on my summer TBR, so we shall see. It's honestly so enjoyable now. And now, like, I think of all the things that happened when I read it last night, and I was like, that's kind of fun. So I'm happy that I enjoyed it so much more on the second round. And that means the the first, number 1 would be The Black Goddess Drums. I just know I really enjoy P. Jelly Clark's writing style. I think my main complaint is that it was too short. I want more But I just really like the voice in this one. I really enjoy overall the story. I just think that while this is first place, I don't think it's my favorite from P. Jellyclock. Like Master of Jane and this, like to compare the enjoyment in the two, Master of Jane is much higher. But comparing the enjoyment I had for this to the other ones here, it is much higher. I feel like they were all good doing different things. All the books here were good in doing different things. It's just some of the things didn't match with me personally. But yeah, I want to say thank you so much to Olivia for sending me a list. So obviously check out Olivia's channel down below. Olivia's Catastrophe. Olivia's Catastrophe. I practiced, okay? I was about to say Catastrophe again. Catastrophe. I practiced with my friends earlier when I told them I couldn't say Catastrophe. But I still want to say Catastrophe. Every time I'm gonna say it, I want to say Catastrophe. That leaves this wrap up for Booktuber Faves number 9. Oh my god, that's so many. I love to discover and find so many new books, honestly. Except City of Brass, that was new, but it was a book I didn't remember anything of. Except when I started to read it, I was like, oh, these things happened. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Leave a... Is there a drum emoji? Since we had drum on number 1. Drum emoji. Yes, it is! Leave a drum emoji down below if you enjoyed this. If you should see me see a new one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye!